Hey everybody, welcome back. Brent's Backyard Redneckery. Today what we're going to do, we're going to look into making some apple pie filling from start to finish. So what I did yesterday, let me show you. I took a trip to Jackson's Apple Orchard, Bowling Green, Kentucky. And I got this big old huge half a bushel of EverCrisp apples. So we're going to take those apples and we're going to turn them into the most amazing pie filling ever. For right now, sit back, relax. I'll tell you what you need to do. Let's get started. So our first step, we're going to take all these apples. I'm going to get them washed up. Then we're going to get them peeled and get them in the water, get them on a boil, and we'll go from there. I've got my really big, huge Vasconia pot that I bought for my sorghum. I'm going to be using this to get all of my apple peels and apple cores into, because I'm going to turn that stuff into apple cider as well. We'll go ahead and get these apples washed up, and we'll get them peeled and we'll get rolling. All right, so there's not a lot of tools you'll need for this. You've got an apple core slash slicer, splitter, thingamajig, and your average just normal peeler. We'll peel them on this big cookie tray. That way, any of the juice that comes out, we'll be able to save that and pour it in there as well. We'll be cutting out those bad spots before splitting it. But yeah, in case you've never done an apple peel, this is the easiest way to do it. Using a knife works, but kind of sucks. You can lose more apple that way. So once you've got it peeled, you'll just cut off these spots and then show you how it goes through that chopper. All right, so I did lose a little bit of apple cutting out those bad spots, but I'm not all that worried about it because I got a freaking half a bushel. So use one of these babies. You just line it up right there in the middle of the core. Push it down. Look at that. Any parts that don't come out, flip it over, pop them out. The core is going to go down there. And then here's the apples that we're going to boil for our good old tasty apple filling stuff. Yes, apple filling stuff. I can't think of a better word right now for some strange reason. All right, so we'll go ahead. I'm going to get all these knocked out, and then we'll show you the next step and the next step until we're finished. All right, so this is the last one in my batch. There were 24 pounds total. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of an entire 24 pounds, which would be that half a bushel, and mix up our stuff. Now we've got left doing our coring. All right, so I've got two, well, pretty doggone big. I think these are 2 quart, maybe 3, maybe 4. I don't know. I really don't keep up with that kind of thing, but this is how much apples we have. So it's time to get these cored, add it to our bucket of scraps, and we will use that later in another video to make our mulled cider. I just want to show you guys something that you want to be on the lookout for whenever you're doing this. See that how you can get a seed in there? So these don't always cut true, and sometimes you may have an apple that just didn't grow straight and you'll get seeds in there. So you just cut that out with a knife and toss it in your bucket. For the most part though, you'll get good clean cuts. If you're really anal and you find some that have that bit of core in them, you can go in there and cut that out too. Most of these I'm not going to fool with, but the ones that still have a seed, yeah, that's coming out. All right, now that everything's taken care of, we're ready to start cooking. Let's take a look at this. So in my pot, that's 7 gallons, I have roughly 5 gallons of apples. So you can tell these things look really gross because they're yellow, but they're really not. That's just where they yellow a little bit being in the fridge. So what we're going to do, take a gallon of water, get this up to boiling, and we'll blanch about 2 cups of these at a time and do it for 1 minute apiece until we're completely done with that. So let's get rolling. All right, so we're finally up to rolling boil. Just gonna reach in here, slowly drop them in. And you'll probably see the colors changing as they're sitting here. What we're gonna do is wait for that to get up to a quick rolling boil again. Once it does, we'll set the timer for 1 minute, and then we'll pop them over into our bowl and let them rest. So this is right before they've been cooked Here they're coming back up to a boiling point, so they're starting to look more white like a regular apple, so there's none of that oxidation. This is going to take a little bit of doing, so once I've got this done, I'll show you the next step in making this deliciously nutritious, maybe not nutritious, but it's delicious apple pie filling. All right, so the apples are completely done now. Our next step is going to be to brew up our jellified substance to drop these into. This is the leftover juice from all the apples that we've cooked up. I'm going to let this cool down. And once it does, I'm going to store it in the fridge for a couple days. And I will add that to my apple peels and apple cores to cook that in. Make that in another video so I can show you how I make my homemade mulled cider. While I'm thinking about it, I completely ran out of quart jars. But if you're looking for a good deal, the best place to get your ball mason jars is going to be Walmart. I got a 12-pack here for $17. If you search for that on Amazon, that is going to run you about $30. So yeah, whatever you do, don't always think Amazon has the best deals. Now, let's get cooking. Make sure that whenever you get your new jars, that you boil those just like you would for any other canning project. The best way that I found is to go ahead and throw them in the dishwasher. It'll get plenty hot in there. It's not like, you're actually cooking stuff in here like I've seen some idiots do, but this will work great. All right, so last year whenever I did this, I made one with apple cider and one with apple juice. So this year what I have, I'm going to be using Jackson's apple cider from the orchard and Mott's apple cider. I decided to go against apple juice this year because the flavor of it was a little bit too bland for me. So I'm going to go with those ciders. This also entails sugar, clear gel, and water. But we're going to do this in 2 batches. One with Jackson's, one with Mott's. Let's get started. All right, so for your dry ingredients, you're going to have 5½ cups of sugar, 1.5 cups of clear gel, a tablespoon of cinnamon. All right, and in here we have 5½ cups of the Mott cider and 2 cups of water. I'm going to put that stuff in a bowl and mix it up a little bit better so maybe it won't clump as much on me. So once this is to a boil, we'll add the clear gel stuff to it and then dump in half the apples and mix that up. We've just now come to the boil, and now we're going to slowly add in this mixture we've got here with sugar and modified cornstarch and cinnamon. And then we'll have to bring this back to a boil after we've got it mixed in, and then we'll dump in our apples. And one thing I almost forgot, lemon juice. We've got to add a tablespoon of lemon juice once this has mixed all together. And as soon as it comes right back up to a boil, that's when we'll drop that in. And then the apples go in, and we'll set this off the burner and get those jars ready to seal this stuff up. It looks like I didn't get any clumpy modified cornstarch this time, so I'm really pleased with that. One thing you're going to want to make sure you do is kind of keep this continually stirring, because if you don't, that stuff that we just put in that's congealing will stick to the bottom, and then you will have ruined this entire thing. As this starts to thicken, you'll feel a drag whenever you're doing it. So right now it's almost to where I want it to be. So I'm getting ready to drop in my lemon juice, and then we'll throw in the apples. We're going to toss in right at a tablespoon and then get this mixed back up. We're putting that in there to raise the acidity level just a little bit. Now here, so you can tell how thick that's getting, just like we want it to be for a good pie filling. See, look at that. It's beautiful. Just right at a boil. So we're going to hope and pray that there aren't too many apples in this and that I don't splatter it all over myself. Oh, it's going to be close. Come on. Get that out of there. Mix this up a little bit and then drop in the rest of them. All right, yeah, this is looking beautiful. Now, I think we've got enough room to drop in the rest. Yeah, there we go. It's going to be a really full batch of apples. Get that seed out of there, dummy. All right. So this is absolutely wonderful looking, I have to say. And I know it's probably going to be delicious because I made it. Well, not really. But everyone that I've made this for and has eaten it says it's really tasty. Now, how's that look for a pie filling? Nice, clumpy. Just going to let it sit on some low heat for a minute so it congeal just a little bit better. Then we'll toss those jars up here and get this stuff popped in there. All right, so this one is completed. I'm going to slap a lid on this because I'm going to have to use my other pot to do the other one because I'm still waiting on my jars to finish up in the dishwasher. It's another beautiful apple pie filling or other apple type desserts you'd like to make. I'm about done with this. I'm going to let it cook down just a couple minutes. It's slightly thicker. That's still a little too runny for me. And then get this stuff into all my nice jars they just finished up. All right, so I'm just going to give you an example of how we're going to put these in the jars. And then I'm going to fill them up. And again, this stuff's still going to cook a little bit more once it's put into the canning. And you can take your apples and scoop them with just a big old spoon like this. And then if there's not enough syrup, you can grab the other spoon that isn't slotted and put the syrup in there. Whatever this thing's called. Yep, can't think of it for some reason. Soup scooper. Is that the right word? Probably not, but it's going to work. So whenever you do your apples, you're going to want to leave some headspace at the top, just like you would with anything else you can. You're going to want to have about an inch, about a ½ inch to an inch of headspace. It's going to be basically right there at that line is where you're going to want to fill your jars up to. And that's going to settle some. Once we cook it and everything, that's all going to be in there. It'll be all beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these filled up and get them cooking. All right, so I got everything in the jars. Let's take a look, and then we'll see how we're going to get these things cooked up. So actually got quite a bit here. 2, 4, 6 of them there with the Jackson stuff. I've got 6, including that one, and a half with the regular Mott's. So I'm definitely going to do these in a couple batches. And then once I got them done, let them sit. Then they pop, the seal's done. We'll check those out, see what we got overall, see if there's a different color, because I think there might be, because the one was a little bit different than the other, and the taste is pretty close, so not a whole lot of different going on there, but I usually do pressure cook my apples because the acidity, I'm not really sure it's going to be high enough, and I don't want them to go bad. We'll put the water up about halfway up, put the lid on, seal it, get it going. Once that's done, we'll check these out, wait for them to seal, we'll wrap it up. So I ended up with 12 quarts and 1 pint. Over here, I have the Mott's apple cider stuff. And over here, I have the Jackson's Orchard cider. But I'm really pleased with this. I had the family taste test it last night. And they said it was a hit. So I'm going to count that as a win. So if you guys like this video, make sure, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, leave me a comment. Come back next time. I'll tell you what you need to do. Have a good one.